Good day, everyone, and thanks for joining us for this Hanover Messe session on Agile Factories with a focus on sustainability. I'm Mark Beckman, part of Microsoft's Worldwide Manufacturing Sector Organization, and I'm happy to be joined today by three folks that will share in the conversation. First of all, Andrea Temperiti from ABB, Habib Modaber from Bosch, and Amit Kaur from Aveva. Thanks for joining us, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Great to
We
be
all
here.
know that digital transformation is a key component of what our manufacturing clients are doing today, and a lot of effort and time is being spent on that. We know that sustainability is a key component of what our manufacturing clients are doing today. So I'd like to ask you a few questions, if I may, to share with us a little bit about what ABB is doing from Mission to Zero, Bosch and their carbon neutral by 2020 initiative, and many of the things that Aveva is doing through a lot of the capabilities that you have in your platforms. And I'd like to start with Andrea to start off and talk to us a little bit about what ABB is doing with your Mission to Zero and how you're focusing on that.
Sure, absolutely. Well, in ABB, we have very clear target for sustainability. We want to become carbon neutral in our operation by 2030, and we also want to help our customer to save. As we forecast with our technology, helping them to save more than 100 megatons per year by 2030, supporting them. So to do that, backing into 2018, we start a project that is called Mission to Zero. And in one of our factory, we want to work at all. So we apply our technology in our factory in Ludenscheid in Germany, and we integrate renewable cogeneration. We were able to cut 630 tons of CO2 emission per year in the site. It was super exciting journey. And for sure, this is just an example of how we can do this. So for sure, it's an industrial plant where we also use not only limited this to the generation or cogeneration of energy, but we also create also set up and deploy electrical mobility solution for logistic purpose and saving CO2 emission also in the logistic part. So it's a great example where we learned a lot. We use our technology, cloud, and our more traditional power distribution technology to achieve that great result. And we want to scale for sure on the rest of the world in the other other factories we have on the rest of the world. For sure, our target is set. We want to go for that.
Awesome, thanks. I mean, it's great to hear how you guys are focused on, in the plants, but also providing technologies for your clients as well. Habib, you guys at Bosch are doing some interesting things as well. I was hoping maybe you could share with us a little bit of the principles that you guys have as you look to, focus on the sustainability challenges. Can you share with us a little bit about that?
Yes, and thank you. Great to be here as well. As you can imagine, I mean, we are carbon neutral since 2020, and that didn't happen overnight. And like Andrea said, you start somewhere in the organization to kick something off and see what is possible. And similarly, it worked with Bosch. I mean, energy efficiency has been, or resource efficiency is at the core and center of the DNA of Bosch ever since. And so long before there were actually corporate goals, people were striving for efficiency everywhere, like I guess in any other commercial operations as you do. But then as early as in 2007, actually, there was a first corporate goal of CO2 reduction by 20% in 2020. And that kind of kicked off the corporate initiatives on that level. The earlier initiatives, also the initiatives around that time, were also focusing on economic efficiency and cost reduction. As you can imagine, being in a global manufacturing conglomerate as Bosch, the plants have to compete with each other internally to be picked for the next assembly line. And so especially locations in high price energy areas were fighting hard to stay competitive in this environment. And this focusing more on the economic factor obviously also helped to reduce carbon emissions. Another interesting factor that happened during that time was the financial crisis in the late 2000s. And similar like today with Corona, whole plants had to be shut down for a certain period of time. Interestingly enough, once those plants were shut down and no machine and no assembly line was productive anymore, the energy consumption was still observed on a very, very high level. Nothing compared to a non-operational plant, And that made people think a lot and drew a lot of attention from top management and from the plant managers to this fact that actually we're using a lot of energy even though we're not producing anything. And that really helped to accelerate that process. So they started off with internal lighthouse projects and center of competencies that were formed to, on one hand, identify opportunities, and on the other hand, help others to also achieve those goals. I mean, you have assembly lines globally, so there is certain copy and paste that you can do. So you don't have to reinvent the wheel everywhere. So this center of competences helped a lot to accelerate that process. And so this wealth has been now available to the whole organization and is actually also available for our customers, because there was a unit formed called Bosch Climate Solutions that offers now consultancy services to help our customers to drive from these experiences. And the decision to become carbon neutral was actually taken in 2019. And since 2020, we are carbon neutral 100% globally. So talking about those principles, I think I identified a couple of things. First of all, you have to have these ambitious goals and measurable targets. And from the beginning, this was the case also with the CEO's priority. Then you have to communicate those targets through the organization over and over again to make them like present in people's mind. And one important next step is then to measure. So having targets that are that can be measured should be measured, and that helps to increase both motivation and also transparency, which means you need sub-metering, you need constantly benchmarking what you do on a machine level, on a production line level, wherever. And also this is now available to our customers, because we are making our Bosch Energy platform that we used internally as a service available basically to the world, eating your own dog food and sell it to everyone to make happy. So that's how we got to the point where we are, and obviously we're not stopping there. This journey will continue.
Awesome, thanks. And I think I may have gotten confused by the pandemic here. I said carbon neutral by 2020 for you guys, and you guys are already there. So thanks for correcting me on that. Hey, Amit, you guys are doing some pretty amazing stuff with Aveva. You've heard Andrea and Habib talk a little bit, but you guys have signed the UN Global Compact. Excuse me, the UN Global Compact. Maybe you can react to what Habib and Andrea said, and then share with us a little bit about what Aveva is doing.
So first of all, thanks very much for the opportunity, Mark. And I've got to congratulate Andrea and Habib on the part that they played in the progress that their organizations have already made. There's what you've already heard from the both of them is not only commitment, but also some big tangible results already delivered, and that's the kind of leadership that the world needs, right? And Aveva, as you rightly pointed out, we are completely committed to this. That's why we signed the UN Global Compact, which of course has many elements to it. It has the environmental, sustainable, and the good governance elements as well. And Aveva is also, we are corporately committed to being a sustainable organization. We have our own journey towards being net carbon neutral. But of course, the biggest impact that we have in the industrial space is working with our customers, which are organizations like ABB and Bosch, and try to help them discover themselves. And there's some very interesting, I really like the example that Habib gave earlier about getting that insight that even when a plant's not operational, it's consuming an alarming amount of energy. But the first step to that is the insight, right? So I think in industry and in business in general, we're well committed to this notion that you can only improve if you can measure. But our businesses are often so vast, so complex. They're globally and geographically distributed. They're not homogeneous. A lot of these organizations have grown through acquisition. And so you've got this challenge of just being able to look past the complexity of your own enterprise. And what Aveva really brings to the table, in the broadest sense, is that layer of digital tools that really help you visualize the entirety of your organization, the entirety of your process and your value chain, in a homogeneous way, in a way that whether you're sitting on the plant floor or you're sitting in a regional office or you're sitting in the headquarters, you can all look at it the same way. You can really compare apples to apples, and you can collaborate and take effective, timely decisions, which of course, that's just commercially good sense, but it has the added benefit of being something that's very, very applicable to what we're all talking about here today, which is how do we do this and be sustainable at the same time? And we've also got some great case studies. Another customer of ours taking an old plant and turning it into an Industry 4.0 lighthouse and managing to reduce energy consumption by 20 to 30% along the way. And those are the kinds of things that we bring to the table. So the way I see it is we help our customers look at their business sort of horizontally across the life cycle and across the value chain, and then vertically across the layers of the organization or the layers of the enterprise architecture that reflects the organization, and then of course across the industrial life cycle. And pulling that all together is kind of that first step. What our customers then do with that is all down to their strategy and their goals and their objectives.
It's actually amazing to hear some of these stories and on what people are doing. And clearly, we've probably learned a lot of things along the way. We've seen some great outcomes. And I just ask each of you to share with us a little bit your perspectives on what you're seeing in terms of outcomes, perhaps best practices, learnings. And maybe, Andrea, you can talk a little about that or react to any of the comments that Habib and Amit mentioned.
Absolutely. I want to quote what my colleague said before. It's the importance of insights. This is extremely important. Most of the companies or the organization don't even know how many energy they are using and for what. So there's no clear understanding where the consumption comes from. So first of all, even before being able to say, okay, I want to integrate renewable, I want to think about cogeneration, even before, the really first step is to understand where the energy is consumed and where you can optimize the energy consumption first. So even this passage is that you can imagine whatever you want to optimize, you need to measure first and to set targets. And this is really something that we will see a company start doing going forward, an organization start doing going forward. The reason why there is a pull and push effect, we see also some regulation coming in many countries, requesting a company or an organization to be more sustainable, knowing what they are their target, what they target, where they are using energy, if the energy has a green source of energy or it's a how we call carbon source of energy, and where they can reduce or setting their target. And this is going to be a push effect from the governments, while there is a pull effect that for sure is where we can help our customer to be more sustainable. And I think that here data analytics and being able to sense in a very seamless way from the source to the usage of the energy, it's super important. This is where the data takes create an advantage for those organizations that want to start open the eyes and measuring and apply analytics and decided where to act to optimize energy consumption. And this is what we did essentially with Ability in our case, with our platform, supporting customer to, first of all, measure, set target, and then achieve the target by applying a solution to to reduce consumption and to improve the type of energy usage. So I see this as a very clear trend from the market, which for sure is driven by other big trends like switch for electricity, by urbanization. But for sure, I think that the world is now ready to come into this, to take this conscious decision of commit on being more sustainable. Any of us, not only the big organization, the small organization, medium organization, and even the citizen need to be part of the commitment here. And this is, I think, is going to be relevant for the next years.
Yeah. Awesome. Thanks. Yeah, it's just fascinating to see kind of the ecosystem kind of, as you said, is both pulling and pushing us towards that. Not only that, but it's good from a shareholder perspective, but it's good for the citizens as well. Habib, what's your comments on that, and what's your perspective on what Bosch is seeing?
Yes, thank you, Andrea. I'm completely on board with what you said. I think what we also learned, and what's very, very important, is we're talking about technology, we're talking about energy efficiency and all of that, and CO2 reduction, but we always have to keep the human being in the center of our attention, the people and the human being that have to act on those things. It's not about that technology can save us, it's our behavior and it's our attitude that can save us. So we'll have to see how we can provide a secure and sustainable work environment that allows our people and everybody around us to feel comfortable and focus on the things that are really important in order to get to these objectives and achieve those opportunities. So thinking about the society and thinking about also how globally we are connected in that has to be in the forefront of what we do. And I think one important point also I want to stress is the digitalization of the existing building stock. So, I mean, we are all in the US, in Germany, in Europe, everywhere, also in Asia. Most of the buildings are built. So we have to figure out a way how we can leverage this wealth of information that these buildings are already generating for the purpose of being more efficient and being more wise and smart, if we want, and more sustainable about how we operate and organize those buildings. We do have energy services in Bosch, and we have building automation systems to aid our plant and our building operators. And this will also incorporate AI soon. And all of that is available also to the public, but that doesn't really help if the focus is not there and the commitment is not there. So I think that's something we have to expand. It's not just limited to production. It's not just limited to the economics. It's in every building and it's in everywhere we do. And it continues with your travels, with your car you're driving, with your house at home. Yeah. Like in all these areas, you have to think about those things. And then obviously you will be also successful at work.
Yeah, it's like, kind of the things that I picked up from both of you so far, the push-pull, the commitment, the metrics. Amit, maybe you can kind of take us home on this thoughts on perspectives, and maybe also at the same time give what's next. What are we going to think about next in this journey?
Oh dear, how much time have you got? Because I could talk for a while on this one. So look, again, I wholeheartedly agree with the comments that Andrea and Habib have made, right? So and in particular, keeping that human element at the end of the day, right? Organizations, corporates, we make money, but we're all doing something that's seen to be valuable in society. Otherwise, it wouldn't sell, right? And so at the end of the day, society is at the heart of everything that we do, and we can see that stakeholders, whether they are end user customers, whether they are sovereign wealth fund managers, they are voting with their wallets, right? You can see where the money is going, and they are increasingly demanding that we meet these standards with respect to sustainability and circularity and all of these things, which really is just for the benefit of us all, right? So I think we're all fully on board, but keeping that perspective in mind. Why are we doing this in the first place? Then from the point of view of how are we going to do this? And again, there the people element is incredibly strong too. So we are in industry, and well, not necessarily in all sectors, but in many industrial sectors, we are struggling a little bit with human expertise. We know that there is certainly in some sectors there's a big crew change coming. There's a lot of expertise and competency that's about to exit the workforce. But that knowledge is incredibly useful and still has tremendous value. And we still need to be able to connect that knowledge wherever it is to wherever it needs to be. And again, that's where digital technologies and in the future, or increasingly from this point, but increasingly so, artificial intelligence, hybrid intelligent systems, we need to have all of these systems in place in order to capture the knowledge, utilize it, and deploy it. And of course, from Aveva's perspective, that's where our partnership with Microsoft is incredibly powerful. Just the cloud element of it is such a big part of really allowing customers to scale up the deployment of the tools, allowing that easy connection from one location to the other, as I said earlier, from the plant floor to the HQ or to the boardroom. But it goes well beyond that into all of the analytical capability, right? And all into even how we connect sources of industrial data to individual productivity tools. Even that element is incredibly important in making sure that we tap into and exploit the full wealth of human knowledge and expertise that's at our fingertips. So that's where I see. I like simple analogies, and what I would like to see is that a high-performing, sustainably driven industrial organization is one that operates very much like the human brain and nervous system works. That it's able to grab all of this data, run essential processes automatically, while making very complex long-term decisions, and everything is working in sync, right? And that's really what we're aiming for. So if you ask me like, what is Industry 6.0 or 7.0, I think it's that.
Interesting. Yeah, I tend to agree with you, Habib. It sounds like you got some comments on this too.
I'd just like to add, if you allow a little bit, because I think it's great, this analogy. I really love it. I mean, thank you for that. I mean, it shows two things. First of all, we have to realize that as an industry, as an economic player in this industry, but also as a society, we are all connected. So we have to generate this greater sense of unity to solve that problem. And the other thing is, it has to be available to everyone. So as you said, Amit, we talk about democratizing this domain expertise. That needs to be available to everyone. And we are also working with Microsoft on that to make that possible. But I think that's the mindset that we will achieve it. Thanks, Amit.
Andrea, your thoughts?
Yeah, no, I think you touched a very important, Amit, and both Amit and Habib touched on very important topics. That is a democratization of knowledge around, thanks to the technology. And I think that also, if I look into ABB, what we are doing together with Microsoft is bringing together two big words, that is the IT word and the OT word, to create something that is the VNext solution for supporting customer in this journey. And I think that if we think about not only the concept of sustainability, then is also having a resilience of the infrastructure that help us to be more sustainable. And because the complexity of the architecture is growing, because we are adding analytics components, things that we didn't have before. At that point, the know-how, being able to have the right know-how, the right moment, in the right place, it's super important. And today, it's even more than before important. And for instance, to use technology like augmented reality to support people in the field. That's something that is becoming really the new normal, because we really need to react very fast and be able to maybe having very big centralized center of competence, excellence, and being able to support people in the field as well with this center of excellence. So, and I think this is where also technology is going behind the concept of just only machine learning and artificial intelligence related to the data, but also being able to connect people in a very seamless way. That's also a super important solution, the top point that the technology is helping us to solve.
Awesome. Great comments, gentlemen. I really appreciate the dialogue that you shared with us today. I think we kind of went full circle. We started talking a little bit about factories, but then we expanded on that. We ended up talking about what I like to call the digital feedback loop that gets involved all the information and the people, giving the people, our workers, whether they're in a plant or in the office, information that helps them do their jobs more effectively, more comfortably, as the case might be, but also really focused on sustainability and the benefits of that. So again, thank you, Andre, Habib, Amit, for sharing information. I think this goes along with the other panel session that we have that's really focused on the factories. So I would encourage everybody to take a look at that as well. And we have a number of things that you can look to next with our call to actions that you can explore more about some of these capabilities and Microsoft and our partners as well. So thanks, everybody, and thanks especially to ABB, Bosch, and Aveva for participating today. Thank you.
Thank you, Mark.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.